Hey YouTube, Jay Green 302. I think I'll call this one Thinking Outside the Box. I'm going to have a little fun with this one. I'm going to give you an idea of weeks and months of what I do before I come up with the ideas that I do. And I'm going to basically share with you about midpoint where I am on one of my thoughts. And it cracks me up every time I think about this. But I want to introduce you to it and then get you where I am, where I'm halfway, and how I go about trying to figure it out. And it sounds like this. Multiple EMP strikes over the continental United States. Billions of transformers ruined. No industrial capacity to replace them, no spares. No power plants, no nothing. We're down for the count. Or the Black Plague. 28 days later. You pick it. We're done. There's no country coming to help us. There's no boat that can bring supplies that can help on this scale. Bad news. What do you do? So it starts like this. Question 1. What are 320 million people all going to suddenly try to do at once? First thought. Raid Walmart, supermarkets, gas stations, hardware stores. Thought 2. Walmart distribution centers. Thought 3. Every other store they can find. Where won't people be going? Will most people be going, I don't know, to U-Haul stores? Storage facilities? I don't know. Lumber yards, maybe? Why would they go there? Why would they go to a lumber yard? Why would they go to... I'm trying to think of some things. Why would they go to certain places and not others? And what I'm digging for is, where would people just not go? You can't stay out in the middle of the woods. So where wouldn't they go? And then I had an interesting thought. What happens, and what happened in Katrina, what happens when you have a catastrophic event at a prison? Do they let them go? Do they leave them locked up? What if the shit hit the fan, and you load up all your shit and you go to a prison? I'm giving you a minute. Anybody figuring out where I'm going with this? Thought 1. If the shit hits the fan, which particular group would I like to avoid like the plague? First, the criminally insane. Second, death row inmates. Third, convicted murderers. 4, all their friends. I think I'd like to go to a prison. Absolutely. And here's how I think, and here's why. During Sandy, they were talking about a shut-down prison that just recently been shut down, and that in order to find housing for folks, they were going to try to get maintenance people in to get the boilers running and to do this and do that. Man, those people were like, fuck you, I'd rather be out in the street than do that. That's just ignorant. There was something about that stuck into my head. So now I sat there and I thought, well, what about a prison? I will bet you, if they open those doors, you couldn't get one of those prisoners to hang around that prison for nothing. And if they got out, they'd head in any direction and get as far away from that prison as they humanly could. And any prior convicts would never go near a prison. The population would never go near a prison. There's huge stigma there. So everybody would leave and stay away from that prison. if they left them in, if by the time you got there, they're not gone, they're not getting out. Simple as that. There is no middle ground at a prison. They are either locked up or they are gone. You will never have a case where prisoners have managed to get loose and decided to hang out in the prison. There's no way. So why am I thinking about it? Try this one on. The first problem would be finding a way in. And it would all depend on the condition in which you find it. But let's say you found a dead guard and his keys. You can at least manage the external locks. You get into the prison. Drive your truck, your trailer, your RV, your equipment, whatever it is that you're bringing with you. You lock the door. Go through the next gate and you lock the door. What do you now have? You have a castle. You have an incredible security perimeter, designed and built with fields of fire. Armored, bulletproof guard towers with guns and ammunition, provided that the prisoners haven't gotten to them. Walkways secured to get to and from. Lots of space. A huge kitchen with stainless steel everything. Stocks of food probably left there. Freezers with food. Toilets galore. Roof space and downspouts for collecting water on a huge scale. Perimeter security. You get in, you lock it up, you now have a castle. And inside the castle, what do you have? You have a whole bunch of open ground that you can plant in. Interesting. Either they're there or they're gone. Now, if we get to this point, I've got 300 or 400 rounds. You're in prison. You can starve to death or I'll put you out now. Either way, you're done. And now you have a completely controlled compound. Fields to grow food in, roofs and collection systems to collect water, really, really fortified walls, security, perimeter, guard towers, everything you could freaking ask for. The only drawbacks here: how much propane's there? Is it well water? Is it city water? The doors operated electronically. Would you have enough functionality? Is it city sewage? If you started flushing the toilets, would it back up? How would you get food outside of what you could grow? Could you hunt? Usually the area around a prison is very cleared of all things. That's your fields of fire. But the one thing that you wouldn't have is visitors. Nobody's going to the prison to check for food. Nobody's going to the prison for anything. And that in and of itself makes it one of the most ideal places I could dream up. Chew on it. I'm still working on the idea. Idea 2. The shit hits the fan. 320 million people are all going to think the same shit. I want to think differently. I want to think where none of them are thinking. How about an airport? How about parking an RV in an airport hangar? You got shelter, you got coverage. Airports are, these small little Cessna airports aren't known for anything. They're usually out in the middle of nowhere. They're usually in an area where the airplanes coming in and out don't bother people. Usually cleared fields of fire. There's no food. There's no water. Airplanes do nobody any good because wherever you land, there's no electric. And you can only take 200 or 300 pounds in a Cessna anyway. If you have a pilot's license, you know how to fly a plane. You can load a very limited amount of shit and fly somewhere else and land and be out of gas and have very limited amount of shit and be hungry. There's no point in going and racing to get into a Cessna for the most part. So after the first week, anybody that was going to do something stupid like that is gone. So what you have is a lot of big covered buildings and no reason for anybody to think about going there. What good is a Cessna motor to somebody who's trying to survive and just find food and water? Usually they have an office, some radios, a building, a few airplanes, and a windsock. There's nothing there. So nobody really has a reason to go racing there. It just doesn't make any damn sense. Thought 2. Did you know that the Cessna fuel, which is airplane fuel, will work in your cars? At least the older ones, because you have to advance the timing about 6 degrees. I don't know exactly how well that fuel would run with computer control. I don't know if it automatically adjusts the timing or not. But I can tell you that the aviation fuel will go into a car because we used it as racing fuel. And we'd fill our tanks up with that, and we'd advance the distributor 6 degrees, and suddenly we had race fuel. And it was quite convenient. Nice little tip since they have underground tanks. Problems, same thing. But most likely they've got a bathroom, which means that they have a septic system as opposed to a city sewage. If they have a bathroom, they probably have water, which means they have a well, but there's no electric. But they do have a well, and there are ways to get water out of a well if it's drilled. Lots of storage, lots of custom-built shelter, open fields, in an area where nobody would be interested. What a wonderful little spot to park. How about the little maintenance buildings at water reservoirs? The only problem there is everybody heading into the woods might find it, and that's shelter. And it was also right near water, a big body of water. That was an interesting thought. I am still pondering and looking through the maps and trying to think about where are the other areas that absolutely nobody would race to. There's nothing there. There's nothing on their minds. The urgency is food. The urgency is water. They can't travel very far. But what is there that offers safety, security, the options for shelter, seclusion, plannable areas for food, and is ready-made? Because the moment shit goes bad, instead of going out and building your retreat and everything, what would suddenly become, once people stop showing up there, something that you could easily secure and employ for everything that you need? The only problem is that you would have to move your shit. Why do I bring this up? Horde mentality, as in group. 320 million people, 90% of which, or 80% of which, all live in communities, housing developments, trailer parks, apartment complexes. There's always a lot of people around, and it's the same thing times millions. Every house has the same thing. If everybody hunkers down, then everybody starts fighting everybody within the houses. After shit hits the fan, travel is limited and reduced to almost walking distance. The one place I don't want to be is in that situation. My house may store most of my shit, but I think that if all you're going to do is prepare to be just like everybody else and do what everybody else is doing, you're going to suffer the consequences of everybody else. Now, if you think outside the box and you're the only dude at the shipyard while everybody's at the airport, when they all figure out the airplanes don't run, you've got the best ship and you're on your way. And that brings me to my last and final point. Grab everything you've got, race to the marina if you are East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast, etc., and just find the biggest yacht you can find. I mean the absolute biggest one. The biggest one with fuel. Load all your shit in. Start the boat up. Take the ropes off. Get out in the water. What do you have? Well, now you have a lot of security. You've just removed yourself from 99.98% of the population. Unless they're attacking you with a sailboat, they're going to have to motor up to you, which means you've got an audible warning. There's no brush, there's no cover, there's no camouflage, there's nothing. And after about 2-3 weeks, very few people will have the fuel to motor up to you. You have a bed. You have a galley. You have shelter. You have nice linen sheets, a DVD player. If you pick a big enough one, maybe it even has desalination. If you are very conservative with your fuel, you can always recharge batteries. If you plan accordingly, bringing a solar panel would not be a bad deal. You can always fish for food, and there's always more fish in the sea than there are deer on the land, because the land will get hunted to death. But it will be hard for everybody to sit at the beach and fish. Interesting thought. Outside the box thinking. I'm working my way through it right now. And these are the questions that I'm asking. When everybody else runs left and left fills up and it fucks everything up, I want to be right. Where I go right, I don't know yet, but it's where nobody would think I would go. And it has all the features and everything that I'm looking for. A prison, an airport, and a yacht. If I can come up with 3, I can come up with 10. Halfway through the ideas. Thought I'd put you all into the middle of this time. Give you an idea of how I'm thinking, why I'm thinking, the questions that I'm asking, and the reasons I'm doing it. Because instead of fishing for you, I'd rather teach you to fish. There you go. Happy Thanksgiving.